Lucas sat at his desk, headphones snugly over his ears, working through the late hours of the night. The music was his usual playlist, background noise to help him focus. But then, a sound. It was faint, barely audible over the tracks, but it wasn't part of the music. Something unfamiliar. It was like a low hum, a subtle noise coming from the wall itself. He took the headphones off, listening carefully. The hum persisted. It didn't make sense. The walls in his cheap apartment were thin, sure, but this wasn't normal. The music playing in his headphones was clear, but this sound, it was like a melody he had never heard before, a soft, eerie tune that seemed to seep through the walls. He shook his head. It was probably just his imagination, right? The apartment was old, the walls creaked, and maybe the neighbors were just playing something strange. He put the headphones back on, trying to ignore it, but the music from the wall only grew louder. And it was so unsettling, there was something off about it. Frustrated and a little unnerved, Lucas stood up. He had enough. He marched toward the door, ready to knock on the neighbor's door and tell them to turn down whatever weird music they were playing. But just as his hand reached the door, the music stopped. Silence. He stood frozen for a moment, confused. Maybe it was just his imagination after all. Shrugging it off, he walked back to his desk and tried to get back to work. But as soon as he sat down, there it was again. The same eerie, unheard music, slowly building in volume, filling the room with that unsettling, familiar hum. That was it. Lucas couldn't ignore it anymore. He stood up, ready to storm out of the apartment. But the moment he moved, the music stopped. It was too much. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. It was like the music knew exactly when to stop, just as he was about to do something. He stood in the middle of his room, heart racing, staring at the door, unsure whether to leave or stay. And then, the music wasn't just coming from the walls anymore. It was inside his head. Louder, louder, endless. He pressed his hands to his ears, trying to block it out, but it was no use. The song twisted and warped, filling his mind with a sound that felt like it was coming from every direction. It was the same eerie, unfamiliar tune, filling every inch of his skull, louder and louder, until he couldn't hear anything else. No matter how hard he tried, the music wouldn't stop. It never would.